Welcome Trinidad and Tobago, welcome to another edition of Community Corner here on ACTN. Today we have traveled all the way to the community of Apex in Faizabad, and we are here today to talk to a man who, a former politician, out of politics, still vocal, but it's given back a lot to the community of Trinidad and Tobago. And this is Sanderson's Heritage Park. We're going to take a short break. When we return, we're going to hear a lot more about this place, which I'm sure a lot of you all don't know, but by the time we finish this interview, you'll know a lot about this place. So stay tuned. We're back after this short break. Community Corner on ACTN. Welcome back, viewers. Welcome back to Apex, the community of Apex in Faizabad, and welcome to the Sanderson Heritage Park. Now, as I mentioned before the break, Sanderson Heritage Park is situated in the community of Faizabad, and a lot is not known of this place, but I can tell you, serene, peaceful, quiet, relaxing. That is what you can find here. And to tell us more about this lovely place here in Faizabad is a former government minister, a man who is out of politics, I would hope, but still giving back to the community and giving back to people in a special way. Let me introduce to you my guest for today, Artis Sanderson. Mr. Sanderson, it's a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
And I mean, this is not the first time, it's not the third time. I've been here many times, and I found it necessary to highlight this place because of the beauty and the peacefulness and the quietness, and more so for what you are doing for this community. You know, sometimes people, government ministers or business people, after they come out of business or whatever, they just go home, they relax, and they don't give back anything. You are giving back to this community. But before we get into the place itself, tell us a bit about Artis Sanderson as a young person. You grew up in Faizabad?
Oh yes, born in Faizabad, grew up in Faizabad, went to school in Faizabad, get my trade union experience in Faizabad.
But you know Faizabad is the home of union.
Faizabad is the birthplace of the trade union movement. My political awareness and education in Faizabad, the representation of the people was done by they elected me as their elected representative for Faizabad, and I served at the national level, as you had indicated, well, at the communal level, as a trade unionist in the OWTU Faizabad branch. I was the vice president. Then I ventured into politics at the local government level. I was the councillor for Apex Faizabad. And then I also ventured into politics with a party called the ONR, which subsequently became the NAR and became the parliamentary representative for Faizabad in the year 1986. And then I became a parliamentary secretary in the Ministry of Public Utilities and Settlements. Then also I was Minister of Labour and in the very said government. And then I was also appointed in Houston, Texas as the ambassador for Houston, Texas in Trinidad.
Okay.
The citation was done by the, the, the council of in Houston, Texas. So I wear many hats, and most of all, I'm just a simple, humble man with a vision. You know, some people may have visions about their community. I am one who try to make those visions become a reality. And this project that we are talking about today is just the crack in a door of the real trust of a vision that I have for Faizabad as a community. Because we have done our fair share in shaking not only Trinidad in forming what you will call giving rise or giving birth to the trade union movement, but we also shaped the Commonwealth as it relates to the Grand Master. I always call him the father of Trinidad and Tobago, Uriah Buzz Butler, because in those days, no what you will call tertiary level education. Just a simple man coming back from World War I and recognizing the ills in the Caribbean. And what took place in St. George's led to him and a number of Grenadians migrating to Trinidad, and they took part in the whole evolution of progress, worker progress, humanitarian progress in Faizabad, and by extension shook the Commonwealth. As a matter of fact, that was the man who started the whole concept of home rule, which later became independence. So in Faizabad, many of us are truly independent. We are independent thinkers, we are independent as individuals, and we can see a lot of things that some people never see before. As I always say, we experience 6 levels of discrimination in this district, whereas in other districts they may experience 2, you know. We experience religious discrimination, we experience color discrimination, we experience class discrimination, we experience gender discrimination, we experience economic discrimination, and most of all, we experience political discrimination. You know, so we have seen it all. So when you go to another district, the discrimination may be only at 3 levels. When you go to another, it might be at 2 levels. We are at the paramount of all discrimination, 6 levels. And I'm sure that is something you never heard before.
I fully understand what you're telling me here right now.
Yes.
Now, let's back a little bit. You were in government, you served your time in government, and you came out of government. You never really get back into active politics. Is there a reason for that?
Well, first of all, I never saw myself as a politician. You know?
Okay.
I saw myself as a humanitarian.
Okay.
And I always voice issues that end up in the politician's lap, you know. And I always vociferous to the point, and that has a lot to do with my family upbringing. My grandfather was a Chinese, and he had experienced World War II and the level of discrimination that existed between Japan and China. So when they migrated to Trinidad, and he came from the city called Taisan, one of the things that he always used to preach in his house, never stay silent when oppression exists. And I grew up with that, with a Chinese man. And very few people know my ethnic background, because I'm a real Kalalu. My father is of African descent. And,
well, they're hearing it now.
Oh, well, thanks to you. Yeah, my father is of African descent, and he migrated from Grenada. My mother is from Chinese descent, coming directly from China. And growing up in Faizabad is really what you will call a mosaic community. It is multicultural, multi-ethnic. And we live in this multicultural and multi-ethnic community in peace and harmony. So whenever issues came up, I took the stance that my father would have taken as a soldier also from World War II and a follower of the Butlerite movement, that we always stand for justice, and we always stand for concept that will lead us into what you will call an independent individual and not depend on individuals. And that basically is what led to this project, which is the site of a community in the district of Apex called Apex the company. So Apex was a company, but it was also a community. And this area was where the management of Apex resided, you know. And at that time, the key person who was in charge of the management of that company was a gentleman called Colonel Hicklin, a former soldier. And whatever was done in Faizabad was a British level of planning, and it was planned along class lines. It was class structured. So in this area, which would have what you will call maybe an area of approximately, in circumference, about a mile, had the upper class living in this area. You call them the whites, you know, and some of them were South Africans. And I would not want to tell you what and how South Africans, what they thought and think about the Trinidadian then, as you would know the history of South Africa.
Yes,
yes. So, and then Lower Faizabad, as you go into the main, what you will call town center of Faizabad, on the outskirts you had a different class of people, and those individuals who worked in Apex and carried the level of foreman and supervisor, they lived in those communities, as you would call them, a lower level of company finance settlements. And then in the district itself, where the company got most of their labor, you had individuals who were living what you will call on a day-to-day basis, because they depended on their existence in some cases through the goodwill of employment from the company. And the company then was Apex in this area. But surrounding Faizabad, there was two other companies, British again, called Premier Consolidated Limited, PCO in short, and there was another one called TLO, which subsequently became Trintoc, and then later became Trintopec. But when I came up with this idea was when the government of the day that I was a part of, led by Mr. A.N.R. Robinson, the then Prime Minister, we had inherited a bankrupt treasury. And recognizing the demand by the populace for so many things, because the dream that we had campaigned on, people wanted deliveries now.
Yes.
And we could not have delivered because of the state of the economy. And the state of the economy, there was approximately, I think, 5 or 6 months' salary. If I could quote the then Minister of Finance, Mr. Selby Wilson from Point Fortin. So at the lower level, Mr. Robinson then told us all, you know the expectations very high in each constituency, try and find something that can have some form of impact on the community and by extension later on create employment. And this piece of land, which I knew the historical value, I then spoke with my predecessor company, which was Tesoro, because I was employed with Tesoro, and I spoke with the then general manager, Mr. G.L. Lewis, and told him about the idea, told him about what we would want to do, and by letter, he had given me the authority to do what we were doing with the able assistance of a community group, which I still head, called the Faizabad Improvement Committee. Okay. So what you are seeing here is a community at work under a leadership that I always say, people more see me as a politician, but I see myself as a humanitarian. So that is why sometimes I become a debate on issues. Yep. But when you look at what I do, I stand for righteousness, I stand for fairness, and respect of whoever is in office. I stand for that. Yes, and I will associate myself with that.
Now, so that is how Sanderson Heritage Park was formed.
Yes. As a matter of fact, it was called the Faizabad Heritage Park. But because leading it, when people ask for direction, they tell them Sanderson. And then if you walk, and you will see by way of some of the landmarks that we have, you will see one billboard will have Faizabad Heritage Park. And then you will see the other, which is known up to this point in the the Sanderson Heritage Park. So the committee management took the decision, Sanderson, everybody calling this the Sanderson Park, who are we to say no to that? And that is how it is called, the Sanderson Heritage Park.
Now, for those of us who viewing this program and Sanderson Heritage Park is a complete mystery to them, let's talk a bit about what this place can give to the community. Is it strictly for the community of Faizabad, or is it open to communities outside of Faizabad? Tell us.
This project, as I said, when it was conceptualized to be a park, a national park. And a national park, in all its understanding, is really for the citizenry of Trinidad and Tobago and any other.
The general public?
Yes. As not only the general public, even the international community. Okay. And what we have happening here is that, you know, there's an old adage that say, sometimes a prophet has no honor in his own country.
Exactly.
Well, sometimes people have something right in their own community and don't know about it. Yep. And they choose to go elsewhere. Because of the cost of marketing, we have not embarked on the marketing aspect of advertising this place. Because why? You don't have to pay to come in here. So the revenue that we get from this project is very little. As a matter of fact, this project is one where if you have your worries, you leave it by the gate.
And you come in here.
And you come in. If you do pick it up when you leave, then
that's
trust me, that is your business.
That's your business.
But what we have experienced is that a lot of people who have problems, and especially these, they have a lot of economic problems. They come here, they fish, they kayak, they ride a horse, they pick guavas, cashew, mango, they drink a coconut. But all these things have to be done in a what you will call properly managed, because the next thing you do, they may go away with your coconut tree. You follow? Because, you know, the locals do some impossible things, you know?
Yeah.
Right? And we have our members and the community who come. Sometimes they take a plant from their home, they bring it and they plant it. And we make what you will call a botanic garden, a very large botanic garden. As a matter of fact, the acreage of this place is over 50 acres. And it is, in the center of it is a large man-made aquifer. It is called a dam, but it's really an aquifer. And it's 50 feet in depth. And what we try to do, we do not encourage any swimming or things like that. We actually put a lot of fishes, seasonal, into the pond so that they would be able to multiply. And the people come and they fish for free. You know, they have fun, they kayak, and they do a number of things. So what we recognize is that the economic benefit that can come from this is more than what you can really see and or understand. And what do I mean by that? Sometimes individuals will come with a problem. And when they leave, the problem is solved. Who solved it? The mystery of God, the environment in itself. That has an economic cost, because they ain't go by no doctor, they ain't go by no psychiatrist, they ain't go by any individual who they will have to pay a service fee to deal with their problem. They come right here in this cool environment. Children who are studying, they come here and sit under a tree and they do their group studies. My good friend, Billy Ocean, who is also a Faizabad boy, said when he came here, he said, Sanderson, when I return, I am going to build a studio here because it has all the environment for studying and composing and writing and no distraction. And not only he said that, my good friend Super Blue said the same thing. Crazy said the same. So local artists and international artists recognize the potential of this place. But one of the underlying factors is finance. You know, I can only go up to a certain distance. And I hope that, you know, when the NAR was in government, the vision was seen, but sometimes others can't see a vision of another person, you know. So quietly we are going there. As a matter of fact, international eyes have seen this place. And in my travels, I have gotten the attention of one of the United States very, very, very good architect and designer called Pomeroy and Architects. The document is there which you can look at. And when I told him the concept of what we would have here, first of all, the education that you can get here with respect to Faizabad and its history. Faizabad and its history as it relates to World War II, when what you will call the industrial era took place, and Faizabad was one of the companies under Apex that supplied Britain with fuel for her war machines. When you look at the question of Faizabad as it relates to the trade union movement, Faizabad gave birth to the trade union movement, and it gave birth for the trade union movement, and a lot of people only recognize that on the 19th of June. They now call it Labor Day, but we in Faizabad still call it Butler's Thanksgiving Day, because we were instructed by the Honorable Uriah Buzz Butler that we must always remember that day as Uriah Butler Thanksgiving Day. And why? It's because Mr. Butler had a political party and Dr. Eric Williams had a political party. And they could not have won the seat of Faizabad or the seat of Lobre, as it was called, St. Patrick East and St. Patrick West. And as a result of that, they tried to get rid of the name Butler through the day that people used to come from all over Trinidad and all over the world. And the politics of the day, they changed the name from Butler's Thanksgiving Day to what it is now called Labor Day. But if you know the world history, Labor Day is an international day of May 1st. Once you are in the trade union movement, you have to recognize May 1st internationally as Labor Day. So you can't have two Labor Day in one country. So in this country, they still celebrate Labor Day as May 1st. And then they come on in June 19th and they say Labor Day. But we in Faizabad, and I lead the community of Faizabad at this point in time, sometimes we get so much resistance for celebrating our own history that uneasy is the head that wears the crown. And we will not give up on Butler's Thanksgiving Day. And I have a DVD, and you will hear which I will give to you. And you can also put it into what you are doing here today, so that the people of Trinidad and Tobago and the rest of the world can hear what Mr. Butler said, not to me, but to all his warriors. And I am a warrior. I don't know if that is politics, but I'm a warrior.
Now, as is Sanderson Heritage Park present situation,
yes,
what is the future? Where do you see this place when you are ready to leave this earth and go to your peaceful place? Where would you like to see this place?
Well, that's an interesting question. What I would like to see first is that the natural habitat remain, meaning the birds and the trees and the animal life, the flora and the fauna. So I will not like to see any heavy equipment come and clear down the area.
Yeah.
What we have to do is to construct within it. And what I would like to see is, as Mr. Pomeroy has designed, an area where you can have concerts, open-air concerts in the form of an amphitheater. We do have concerts here down in that very said area, but it's not an amphitheater as yet. But if you look at the shape of the land and you have eyes to see, you can see the amphiness in it. We also want to put on a swimming pool so that people within the community can learn to swim. They can do a lot of things, what you call water sports. We also would like to see some form of infrastructure put down, because presently we have international visitors who come here, and we have a very small, what you will call, guest house. And it is country style. And with that guest house, it is oversubscribed, because the cost is minimal. And you get two servings, a breakfast and a meal, which you would either call it a dinner or a lunch. But what we serve is what we plant here.
Right.
You get your Karaili, you get your baigan, you get your pumpkin, you get your guavas, you get your fish, you know, cassava, dashin. You know, we feed ourselves. And that, I think, is any leader should attempt to do. feed your nationally and locally. What I would also like to see is that the people of Trinidad rise up to their own legacy of their community, because in Trinidad, in each community, there's some form of history, and designate an area where people would want to go to whatever place they have actually looked at and put something that can show their history. I would also like to see here that a museum be established, or the work that I have and the work that I've been doing, that it is properly secured and it can be viewed by the public. I will also like to see people who do not know what this place is come out of their shell and see what determination is all about and what you can accomplish for your community. I would also like to see a little play area where we have started it and we shall continue, where we will keep the legacy of what made us. And there's a legacy in the Southwest Peninsula, as it would be in the entire country, as it relates to sports. The Southwest Peninsula is hinged onto British companies who came here for our natural resources. But when they came, they also came for the natural resource, but they also put back something into the community. And that gave rise in Apex, gave rise to Faizabad, and Apex as a community. In Santa Flora, Palo Seco, it gave rise to TPD, and TPD gave rise to Dali Village, Beach Camp, and a number of areas. It gave rise to Shell, and Shell gave rise to Mahaika, Tishe Village, the community that exists right now in Point. And Forest Reserve gave rise to Forest Reserve as it relates, or Trintoc. TLOL gave rise to Forest Reserve, which it is in a dilapidated state at this point in time. And I can say the same thing for sports and clubs that represented communities, Malvern, Shamrock, tell me some of those. Maple and all these clubs. These were community clubs. And the players of those days established the communities where they come from. Now, you have no history about Maple. You have no history. I think the only one that has a club, I think, is Malvern.
Yeah, yeah. I think Maple and Malvern are still operating, because I think they celebrated their anniversary recently here.
Right.
Right, but like the clubs like Essex and Paragon and all those teams,
all
they have gone
through.
Yeah.
Now, I'm saying that if we really try to balance our communities and we get the business community, who have always played their part, to continue playing their part, why is it that Maple and Apex should die? Why is it in London you have Manchester United, which is over 100 years, and it has become a community? And I can go on and on in different countries. It is because we have become a society of depending on people to do things for us.
Yeah.
And if they stop doing things for us, we stop doing things for ourselves. You see, that will make Faizabad different. That will make me different. Depend on no one. Just give us some support, and we will take it to where it is. We have a very small, what we call a canteen stroke bar, where when people come and they want to get some light refreshment, it can be done here, you know. People see this place as some of our local artists see the potential of this place. As a matter of fact, for the last 4 years, we have had the Icons Calypso tent coming right here. And if I may say, sometimes I believe they get the largest gate receipt here, because people now recognize they could come and hear a good Kaiso with Krokro and his boys right here over the years. And whenever they come, they see something added on, and they say they will never stop coming, because if by coming they keep seeing more is happening, more improvement, they like what they see. And there are other young artists in the country who do things. There's a big young crowd that comes to a fete called, I think it's Loose Like Goose or Loose Goose or something like that. And they come here by the thousands every Easter, you know. So people see the potential, the economic potential. But I do not want this place to be looked at as a place you can just come and do what you want to do, leave it dirty, and just, you know, take advantage of the goodness and the blessing that God has bestowed on me. But you must come in, see it, and respect it, and leave it even better than how you met it.
Now, I know, I know only on Monday you had a visitor from England.
Yes, yes, yes.
So this place is not only locally known, but
No.
internationally.
Yes.
Share that with us, how the person knew
Well,
about the place.
I must, yes, I must give 100% accolade to your company, because your company was one who came down and is a community company and had videotaped what a group that normally use this facility called the Royal Commonwealth Ex-Services League. This is an international organization that assists veterans and their families who had served and fought in World Wars I and II. As a matter of fact, very soon you will see the poppy being distributed all around in remembrance of World Wars, the soldiers who fell in World Wars I and II. And they had a family day here. And by videotaping it, as a matter of fact, the feature address was done by the present Minister of National Security, Mr. Dillon. And we also had the honor in having the Member of Parliament for Faizabad, Dr. Bodo, and other notable individuals. And this was over YouTube. And YouTube can be viewed anywhere in the world. And it was viewed locally and internationally. And this week, Wednesday it was, we had a surprise visit by the local president of the Veterans Association, the Royal Commonwealth Ex-Services League, Colonel Alexander, and the representative from the international organization, Mr. Holmes. And they were not only appreciated what they saw here, but they appreciated what they saw by way of YouTube of the day that was spent with the veterans and their family. So the place is seen as something special. And if I may quote Mr. Holmes, he said, "We are doing a very good job here." He loves what he sees, and not only seeing it on YouTube, but also seeing it personally. And he gave the accolades to not only myself, but to the others who worked tirelessly to bring this community project to fruition.
For those who are viewing, what kind of events can one come here and host?
Any kind of events.
And how do they make contact?
Right. We have a management system in place, and the contact number is 325-9844, and the information requested in relation to what they would want to do can be discussed with that individual. And some of the events that take place, as a matter of fact, this park is now considered the marriage facility for taking pictures. Whenever people get married, they come here. They come from as far as San Fernando, and they come here. As a matter of fact, two couples, one from Canada and the other from the United States, came to this park and had their wedding ceremony and reception. There are also family events. People keep their family days here, their family events here. And when you see different families hosting their event, it makes you feel proud, because here is a facility where hundreds of people gather generation upon generation in order to remember, in order to keep knowing their family tree, and to have fun, good, clean fun. As a matter of fact, my uncle, who just celebrated his 102nd birthday, we as a Sanderson family propose next year that we will keep our Sanderson reunion again and have him, we will be heading towards 103, as the hallmark of good living, spiritual guidance, and what a family can do and look upon for even longevity in life. we have people who will come here to learn to ride horse. We have horses. There are people who come here and keep little sports. School children come and they keep the school events, little small excursion, and they have their, what you will call their sports day on the small play field. We have community clubs in the district who never met for over 20 years, that they have the reunion with seven-a-side football right here. Some years ago, His Excellency President Kamona had donated a trophy for a day of football.
That was with the Legends.
With the Legends.
Yes, I was here for that.
Right. And the Legends had...
From 1973.
That's
yes.
right. The Legends had a very, very beautiful day playing football amongst themselves and some of the other greats, like Steve David,
De Leon,
Douglas,
Finey,
Devnish Paul.
Devnish Paul. I was here for that day. I was here for that day. I think that was the first time I came down here.
Yes, Moran and all these guys. And they had a beautiful day. And some of them, when they came again, it was something that they never knew existed.
Yes, because the first time I came here, that back piece there
was not there.
Wasn't there.
That's right. So whenever you come, you see something added on. As a matter of fact, for Boxing Day, we propose to have the old system of football, resurrecting some of the clubs that made Trinidad proud and made South in particular proud. We're going to have TPD, Forest Reserve, Shell, and Apex playing Maple, Shamrock, Malvern, and Paragon in a knockout. Seven-a-side. So all we expect to see all the Cornels and the Brancas and the Devnish Paul and the Lyle Jeffries and, you know, those guys from the north coming down to have an enjoyable day. And once we do this right, you will have the young and the old coming to pay respect to those who set the foundation for football in this country so that they will go a long way. Because a lot of people believe football in this country started a couple of years ago. This thing started long before you and I, over 60 years. But I always say we must begin to get rid of the dustbin society that exists in this country. And what do I mean by being a dustbin society? There are a group of people in this country who believe that when you get old, you should be discarded.
Yes.
No society, no developed society in this world treat seniors like that. You respect your seniors. You try to absorb some of the experience that they have gained, and then you move on with your young technology and the experience of the old, and we build a beautiful future. If there is no experience, you know how much mistakes the youth will make? That is what we are.
Before we wrap, is there anything you'd like to share with the viewers before we wrap this interview?
I would like to say, pack a Sunday basket, get a nice little picnic rug, or you can call the number that as advertised, 325-9844, if you may want to have a private function in a private space with the kayaks and the gazebos, and come and see what peace and tranquility exists in the community of Faizabad, and by extension, what Trinidad and Tobago can do, especially in this point in time when we have to find alternative avenues so as to create employment, you know. And we say here, although we give the country all the money via taxes through the natural resources of gas and oil, we have not benefited from it. But we take one day in stride and show that what we can do within the environment of gas and oil, that other opportunities can emanate once you are persistent and you have a vision. So come and see, give us your comments, give us your criticism, because we believe in constructive criticism, and share with us the pride of Faizabad and the pride of one of the pride of Trinidad and Tobago.
Now, before I let you go, when Your government was in power.
The NAR.
The NAR.
Yes, our government.
Our government.
Yes.
We were facing a similar situation financially as what we are facing right now.
Well, that is highly debatable because when we were in government, there was no money and we had to go and borrow from the IMF.
Okay.
The IMF will only give you a loan when they're sure you don't have any money. Here is a situation where we
have money then?
There is money because the IMF, we have not approached the IMF and the IMF have not given us any prescription.
Interesting question.
So to tell us you must restructure your country in such a way and to ensure the repayment. Here is a situation where the country is being confused as it relates to maybe bad, mis or other management of one regime as stated by another. It is debatable. And the whole question on how do we go forward? Because, you see, you're opening a Pandora's box here.
Because I've had this question to ask you, so that might lead us further.
You're opening a Pandora's box.
Yeah.
And I'm one of those who believe that the country, its revenue has reduced considerably because of the shortfall of oil or the downturn in the price of oil. But the country has money. There is money in the country because whilst you are saying there is no money, international organizations are lending us, and they will not lend us if we do not have or we do not have the potential to repay. This is a very serious issue. And you see, we are still a growing society, and some of us are fooled by rabble-rousing. But many of us who stay quiet, we understand this thing a little better. But everything will be done in strides.
Final question.
Well, I hope it's the final.
The final one. As a former
trade unionist. Yes. Mm-hmm.
We hear the present union telling the population to riot. That's the word they use. Do you agree with that statement?
No, that is treason. That borders
because
on
how I look
sedition.
at it is the unions, they are fighting for the poorer class, as they say. So after a riot ends, who suffer the most? But this is a final question, eh? This is a final question.
Let me answer your question with two examples. Mm-hmm. One, the very said trade union, who Mr. Butler formed that trade union, never got the opportunity to be the President General. A lot of people in this country believe that Mr. Butler held an official office of President of the OWTU. He never did. From Ricola Renzi, comes straight down to George Weeks, who reinstated him in the Oilfield Workers Trade Union. When Mr. Butler was alive, the community took the day of June 19th as a community that made us who we are and developed June 19th into a package that will attract people into Faizabad and create economic activities so that this man on the ground who can't get a job in the oil field can sell something and live for a couple months. The trade union movement, after Mr. Butler died, under the existing leadership, have taken a position that Faizabad people must not do anything. They can't even play music at the side of the road because they say Butler would not like that. But why is they telling us that? They have the boxes and the bars up in the trade union hall. The existing leadership made us very serious VUPA by telling one of the multinational companies, take your rig and go. Take your rig and go. And Guyana, at this point in time, is threatening not only us, but the world as it relates to its deposit in oil and gas that they are finding in their waters. Do you know what is going to happen to Trinidad in the next 25 or 30 years? We will be out of the game. So when leaders who tell investors, take your Jaji bundle or your rig and go, do you know how much unemployment that they are creating? Do you know that how much service companies that service these multinational corporations, how much jobs that will be lost? And to tell a country, Mr. Butler was tried for treason for that, to riot. That warrants the government of the day to investigate that and arrest that person. Because if you can tell the citizenry to riot, there are ways that you can tell the citizenry to do things, but not use those seditious words. I stand for a very good trade union movement in defense of workers who are being taken advantage upon. I stand for a trade union movement that will say now is the time, because things are happening and we must now review how we negotiate. I am an advocate that workers should now be told to pay, if it's 2% of their income, into an insurance, so that when they lose their job, that insurance can give them sustenance in the form of a salary or whatever we want to call it, or for 6 or 7 months until they get a job. You know how many people are being dismissed, and when they go now for the national insurance benefit, the very said trade union who's supposed to be looking after their interests, it is left on the shoulders of other individuals, of which I am involved, to seek the benefits of these workers. Listen, man, this country had to wake up, you know. And some of the things that are being told today by the existing government, a reduction of 5%, do this and do that. We did that when it had no money. And other people created a coup, of which citizenry of this country were killed. Members of parliament, a member of parliament was killed. Members of parliament who were in the coup on that day still cannot sleep under normal circumstances, like Royal Raphael, and they have to take sleeping tablets. You know it is to take sleeping tablets for 25 years. And when we went to lay the wreath this year, because we do it every year, Royal and myself and our supporters, we go and lay a wreath, because my driver died as a result of that. Mr. Abu Bakar's son, in the statements that he made, said to us, his father is not a fool, and his father did not do what he did just so. Other people were involved. Listen, man, we just had a commission of inquiry. Millions were spent. I was invited to go to the commission of inquiry as one of the hostages who were there, although I escaped during the period. And key people who knew and maybe who were a part of it refused to go to the commission of inquiry. Then who am I? The truth will come out. Just as how the truth came out as a result of what took place in Ireland many years. They did about 3 commissions of inquiry until the final one was accepted. So there's no rush for time. Some people rushing to go to the commission of inquiry because there's a financial reward at the end, as stated by the chairman of the commission of inquiry, for the pains and suffering that they endured during that period. I am not about financial return. I am about knowing the truth, because some of these perpetrators still walk amongst us, and they may be making millions. Why? Because of a change of government. Sometimes a change of government redounds to the broader benefit of an economic plus in their pockets. So you open up Pandora's box, my friend. I hope your listening audience or your viewing audience would appreciate what I say, and if they do not, I am here to be asked questions, I'm here to be criticized, I'm here to debate it. That is what democracy is about.
Mr. Sanderson, it was indeed a pleasure. Let me wish you and your organization that is running the Sanderson Heritage Park all the best as you continue to grow and give back to society. And I quite understand now why you said you are not a politician.
Thank you very much, George.
Very much.
Thank you very much for the interview.
Yes.
And your crew.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Well, viewers, we have come to the end of another very interesting segment of Community Corner, where we were in the community of Apex in Faizabad, talking to Mr. Artis Sanderson, the man responsible, the man with the vision behind the Sanderson Heritage Park. Yes, we came to talk about the park, but we did touch on the community of Faizabad. We did touch on a little bit of the politics, a little bit of the union, because as he said in the opening, he speaks frankly, doesn't hold any bars. So I really hope that you enjoy this interview. I hope that you will call the number 325-9844 when you need a place for your birthday parties, family days, wedding, whatever you, once you need a place, a tranquil place for relaxation, call this number. I can tell you, I've been here many times and I do enjoy it. So again, we thank you for viewing. We hope that you will contact Mr. Sanderson and his organization. We hope that you will support this because this is a very good opportunity to build communities. So remember, ACTN, always in a committee around you. Feel free to call us anytime if you have something that you want highlighting in your community. I will be there to support you. God bless. Have a good day.